This video is brought to you by WorldSoccerShop.com, offering the world's largest selection of authentic jerseys and apparel for both club and country. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new limited Aguero edition of the Puma evoSPEED 1.3 Tricks. Now, as you can see, it does come in a black drawer-style box. You do have the Kun logo, which is his nickname, by the way, printed there on the top. Pull the drawer open, and on the inside, you will find that they do come with a string bag. The string bag is black in color with black strings. You're going to find your Puma branding in red at the bottom corner. And again, that Kun logo one more time in red, dead center. Nothing on the back whatsoever. And other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So I'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at Sergio Aguero's personal variation of the Puma evoSPEED 1.3, because this is part of the player issue collection from Puma. Now, these guys are limited to only 400 pairs worldwide. They have a retail price of $250 US, and they actually are still available in quite a few different sizes. So if you're interested in a pair of these very limited shoes, again, only 400 pairs worldwide, click the very first link down below in the description. There will be buy it now links on that page. And again, as long as these things are available, there will be links on that page to get them. So if you want them, act quickly because they won't last long. And as far as what we're going to talk about in today's video, we're just going to take a detailed look at everything regarding this shoe, including the colorway, the actual variation of the evoSPEED 1.3 that Aguero himself actually wears, and of course compare it to the standard off-the-shelf version of the evoSPEED 1.3, just so we can see exactly what the differences are. So if you're interested in learning more about Aguero's personal variation of the evoSPEED 1.3, please stick around, and with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's take a quick look at the colorway, as well as talk about the small details that have been incorporated on this shoe as a nod to Aguero himself. Now, being that this is a Tricks colorway variation from Puma, the upper is split right down the middle, as well as the insole and heel liner, as you guys can see, where half the shoe is one color and the other half is the other color. So the lateral side on this particular shoe is white with some red accents, while the medial side on the shoe is red with some black accents. Definitely a very interesting color scheme, but a nice combination of colors. Speaking of colors, why are these white, red, and black as opposed to sky blue and white, being that this is a Sergio Aguero signature? At a club level, he plays for Manchester City, and on an international level, being that he's Argentinian, he plays for Argentina, which are both teams that feature white and sky blue coloring. So again, why are these white, red, and black? And that's because this is a nod to Sergio Aguero's first ever professional club, Independiente, which is based in Argentina. It's very interesting that he would choose to make the colors of his shoe of a club that he used to play for, as opposed to a club or country that he currently plays for. But that's what he chose to do. I think it looks pretty good. Just a very interesting choice in my opinion, but nonetheless, it's a nice combination of colors, so you can't complain too much. Now, on the lateral side of the shoe, you're going to find a white base that does have a somewhat shiny finish. You have a matte finish red Puma branding, or Puma, I'm not even sure what you would call this, their signature Puma. It's not a swoosh, but you know what I'm talking about. Right there on the lateral side of the shoe, your evoSPEED 1 branding right there at the top as well. And then running along the top of the Puma branding in kind of like a shiny clear coat, it does have some texturing to it, is in cursive a series of names. Hopefully you guys can see this on camera. It's not something that I noticed until I actually got the shoe in my hands, but these series of names is actually a bunch of different very close friends and family of Sergio Aguero himself that he kind of wanted to pay tribute to on his own signature colorway of the evoSPEED 1.3. So that's a nice little personal touch. The tongue split right down the middle, as you guys can see. It does have his Kun logo as well as the evoSPEED branding right there at the top of the tongue. Also some Puma branding split in half. The laces, similar to what we saw on the Marco Reus evoSPEED 1.3, where half of them are one color and the other half is the other color. It's actually one single lace. They laced it up in a particular way that it looks pretty cool, where you maintain the white on one side and the red on the other. Again, it's just kind of split half and half as far as the coloring of the lace is concerned. And this particular way of lacing your shoes is not necessarily the most effective when it comes to actually playing in them. It's more of a display type of item, and overall I think this was intended as more of a collector's piece from Puma, being that they only released 400 pairs worldwide, but of course you could relace them in a different way so it would look more normal, which you guys will actually see a little bit later in the video. Now on the medial side of the shoe, you're going to find a red base to the shoe that actually does have more of a smooth matte finish as opposed to being shiny like you'll find on the lateral side. You're going to find Kun, K-U-N, which is his actual nickname for those that did not know, in kind of like a blood splatter print. And you're also going to find this very mean, aggressive dog and a graphic that kind of looks like an old book or something like that. That's what it reminds me of, something that has been printed out in black and white, and it looks pretty cool. It's very, very interesting. It's probably not the most visually appealing to most people. I can't say that I'm crazy about this particular graphic, but there is some backstory here. The blood splatter, as well as the very mean looking dog, is supposed to represent Aguero's very aggressive playing style. So if that's what they were trying to get across, I think they did that successfully with this pattern that you can see does splash over to the white side just a little bit at the toe. And again, it's supposed to be somewhat of a blood splatter. So definitely a very, very interesting design here from Puma. And obviously what Aguero liked and wanted on this particular shoe. You're going to find that Kun logo one more time right here at kind of the neck of the dog, as well as some evoSPEED branding that is very, very faint. They've kind of like etched it out of the black area, which is kind of cool. And then as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, the sole plate is a shiny white plastic. You'll find some red in the actual speed track here running through the midfoot and heel. And of course the tips of the studs are also red in color. So that's pretty much it as far as the colorway itself is concerned. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comment section. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about Sergio Aguero's personal variation of the evoSPEED 1.3. For those that don't know, this isn't just a signature colorway for Sergio Aguero. This is actually the exact variation of the Puma evoSPEED 1.3 that he wears himself. So it definitely is a little bit different than the off-the-shelf variation of the evoSPEED 1.3, which we're going to be talking about in this video right now. Now, if you guys missed the rest of the pro-issued collection from Puma, they did a Evo Power for Balotelli, evoSPEED 1.3 for Marco Reus, as well as an Evo Power for Cesc Fabregas. I'll leave annotations on screen to all of those videos so you can go ahead and check them out. Definitely is interesting to see which players have which modifications to their shoes and how different the shoes they actually wear are to the shoes that you buy off the shelf in store. So as far as what Aguero has done to his evoSPEED 1.3s, there aren't a ton of differences in comparison to the stock variation. The biggest difference is definitely going to be the synthetic upper, which feels a little bit thicker and arguably a little bit softer on the evoSPEED 1.3 that Aguero wears versus the variation that you get off the shelf. Now, the one off the shelf is a relatively thin microfiber material. It's pretty soft, it's pretty flexible, but it does have more of a plasticky sensation on feet in comparison to a lot of other high-end synthetics from other brands, and even from Puma themselves. I much prefer the synthetic found on the Evo's Power line versus what we get on the evoSPEED line. Now, with Aguero's evoSPEED 1.3, it definitely does have some more thickness to it. You can see here by the side profile. It isn't overly soft, and honestly, it's not as nice as I was expecting. It's pretty much the exact same synthetic that we saw on the Marco Reus variation of the evoSPEED 1.3, so nothing too fancy here, nothing really over the top as far as quality is concerned. This doesn't jump out at me as a pro-issue shoe, but apparently it actually is. So, you don't have any of the EverFit cage externally or internally on the Pro issue variation, and that's because it just has a completely different synthetic upper overall, so that's not too surprising. But everything else about the shoe appears to be the same. It has pretty much the exact same tongue, minus the perforations down at the bottom, as you guys can see. And then as far as the sole plate is concerned, it's the exact same thing. Stud pattern is unchanged as well. This is, of course, a firm ground stud pattern. You do have the one-piece TPU plastic sole plate and heel counter with the cutouts right there. The stud pattern, like I mentioned, is exactly the same. And then you do have your P-Backs speed track kind of insert that's molded into the forefoot and heel area of the shoe as a bit of a stiffener for the sole plate as a whole. Your DuoFlex flex grooves right there in the forefoot. And the stud pattern as a whole is just a very aggressive conical stud pattern where they are relatively long as far as firm ground shoes go, and they have a nice narrow profile. So while they're rounded, they still dig into the ground really nicely and provide tons of extra grip at push off in pretty much any direction. So a really good stud pattern. Again, not too far off from the variation of the evoSPEED 1.3 that you can buy for yourself. Is the evoSPEED one of my personal favorite lightweight shoes? I can't say that it is. I think there are better options from other brands as well as from Puma themselves with their own Evo Power line. But if you're a fan of the evoSPEED, perhaps you're a big fan of Sergio Aguero, this is definitely a shoe that you should take into consideration. There's only 400 pairs worldwide. I realize that they are expensive, but part of what you're paying for is, of course, the limited quantities that they were produced in. So if you want these either to wear or as a collector's piece, it definitely is a unique item that you won't ever see again, and definitely a piece of memorabilia, if you will, a piece of wearable memorabilia that I can strongly recommend. As far as weight is concerned, I thought it'd be fun to compare the weight of the standard evoSPEED 1.3 that is sold to the public to the Aguero variation of the evoSPEED 1.3, and that's exactly what we're going to do using this scale in real time. Keep in mind these are both the same size, 9.5 US. We'll start off with the standard off-the-shelf version of the evoSPEED 1.3 in purple, and you can see on the scale they weigh in at 6.95 or 7 ounces, just to keep things simple. So nice and lightweight. Just remember that number. Pull it off the scale and we'll throw on the Aguero variation, and you can see that these guys weigh in at 7.6 ounces, so they're 0.6 ounces heavier than the standard evoSPEED 1.3. I would suspect that the extra weight is coming from the upper, which, like I mentioned, is a slightly thicker synthetic material. It's a little bit interesting that his are slightly heavier than the off-the-shelf variation, but at the same time, because of the construction of the shoe, it isn't overly surprising. Alright, so here's a look at the Aguero evoSPEEDs on feet. You can see I have them laced up two different ways. On my left foot, I left them as they come from right out of the box, where it does keep the two colors on opposite sides. Can you wear your shoes like this? Technically, yes. Is it the best way to wear them? I would say no. There's a lot of extra bulk on the top of your foot, and it's actually pretty difficult to get them to the correct tightness, if you will. Whereas on my right foot, I kind of just undid the little pattern they had going and laced them up normally. Definitely doesn't look as cool, but certainly more effective and definitely the better way of wearing your laces when it comes to effectiveness. As far as how these things fit and feel, they're actually pretty stiff from right out of the box and don't feel too far off from standard evoSPEED 1.3s, despite them being a slightly different material. There definitely is some break-in time here. Like I said, the upper does feel a little bit thicker, a little bit stiffer. The shape of the boot is a little bit different in that the toe box seems to be a little bit higher volume, a little bit taller, in comparison to the much lower toe box you'll find on the standard evoSPEED 1.3. But other than that, they feel pretty similar. Not the nicest synthetic, honestly, which is a little bit surprising considering that this is the shoe that he actually wears, and Puma does have better synthetics with their Evo Power line. But if this is what he likes, this is what he likes. Who am I to say any different? As far as the overall width of the shoe is concerned, they feel about the same width as the standard evoSPEED 1.3. It is a tighter fitting shoe overall, but certainly not narrow. It would be suitable for most foot types, I would say. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size. I'm wearing a half size larger than I normally wear, a 9.5 US as opposed to my usual size 9. And that's because these run about a half size small, just like the regular evoSPEED 1.3s. So if you are planning on ordering a pair for yourself that you actually plan on wearing, I would strongly recommend going a half size up for the best possible fit. Pumas just as a whole tend to run about a half size small other than the King line, but the Evo Powers and the evoSPEEDs do run half a size small, so please keep that in mind prior to making your order. Alright guys, that's it for my review of the Sergio Aguero evoSPEED 1.3 tricks from Puma. This is, I believe, the last of the player issue releases that Puma are going to be doing, at least for the next little while. I think it was a really cool run, and it's definitely an interesting collector's piece, especially for a soccer cleat enthusiast who is perhaps curious about what exactly the professional players wear. This is a bit surprising that he actually wears this shoe for me personally, but it is what it is, and overall, definitely a pretty interesting release. Again, only 400 pairs worldwide, and they actually are still available. So if you are interested in a pair of these for yourself, check out the review page on my website. It's the first link down below in the description. On that page, there will be buy it now links to anywhere where these things are still currently available. And as long as they are still available, there still will be links up on that page, but they won't be up for too long after this video goes up, because generally when these videos go up, they tend to sell out. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, be sure to go ahead and check out that review page. If you guys have any questions at all regarding this particular shoe, leave your questions down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. And of course, if you have any video ideas or suggestions, leave your suggestions down below as well, and I'll have a look at them. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.